All right, new NBA show here on the Earnestly Speaking podcast. I am your host, Ernest EJ Christian. We're recording this on Tuesday morning, around 10 o'clock in the morning. We are just coming off one of the best games I've watched in my lifetime. I've been an NBA fan for nearly 40 years. I've never seen performance like that. Well, we're reacting right now with our guy, of course, our NBA analyst, author, of course, Greg Hrinya with us. Greg, how you doing, brother? Doing well. Thanks so much for having me, as always. First off, I did finally find you on X. Finally, yeah. Had to dig through all the other things I saw there. Like, oh, there it is.
I don't know if I explained it to you, but I think like from the research that I did, that they basically like shadow ban you for a month to make sure that you're a real account.
What?
And not like a bot. But it might also be because I'm using the same email address as the one that got hacked. So.
There's no update though. There's no update on the old one. No update on the old account.
I gave up on it. So
for real. Oh, dude, that sucks, bro.
Because Twitter is all like it's all automated. It's just like Tesla. Like every you're not like getting a person to talk to, and I just grew tired of going back and forth. So
I am telling you right now, and I did an episode on this over the weekend on my solo show. If that happened to me, honestly, I'm done. I don't have the energy to start a whole new account and try to find new followers again. I'm not doing that. I'm done. Once you cut me out, I'm done. I take that as you don't need me. Whatever, you don't even want to bother trying to keep me on here. I'm done. I'm not gonna try. I'm already tired of social media as anyway. The only reason I even have social media, honestly, is for this podcast. If it wasn't for this show, I probably would not be on there because, quite frankly, X is lame. It really is now. I can't find good conversation anymore. Everything is so automated and so bland and whatever. It's like people say, "Oh, because the politics." No, not even close. I can't find any good engagement of conversations to have like I used to. So I'm like, okay, I'm done with this shit. Like the only social media service I do enjoy is Instagram. That's it. I barely enjoy Facebook now anymore.
Yeah, I mean, the reason why I really like Twitter is because that's where I get all my basketball news. So, I mean, I can follow people, beat writers from every team, and that's how you can sort of stay plugged in to what's going on with every team around the country. And to be honest, the only good thing about restarting it from the beginning is that it's basically just basketball podcasts now. Like I had a lot of like political accounts and all sorts of stuff on the other one. So now it's like tailored to where like I'm really only getting the information that I'm looking for. So, I mean, that's like the one positive, although the downside is you spent 15 years getting 1,200 followers, and now you're back to 12.
That sucks. That's the thing. I've been on there about the same time, and I built up one point close to 2,000 followers, and then it's kind of peter off because of people leaving the service and whatnot. Yeah. But yeah, I don't have the energy for that shit anymore. Now I'm in my mid 40s, bro. I don't care. 10 years ago I would have cared more about that. Now I don't care. I just don't. I'm too old to give a shit. I really am.
Yeah. I mean, I like the news, I mean, that's how, like, when Shams tweets something, like, it goes directly to my phone, and I get it almost as like a text. So it just keeps me tapped in. And
right. And it's pretty much one reason I had it in the first place, too, also, was for the news, to stay on top. Now, I'm not as, like, I guess for me, I've shifted a lot of my priorities when it comes to social media in the last couple of years, but a lot of things in general, like, even with the way I take in content now, like, this has been a theme on the show for the last couple months now. Like this entire year, I used to watch every clip I could find on sports and politics and stuff. When this year started, I backed away. It's like, you know what? I don't have the brain space anymore. I just don't have the energy. I just want to enjoy what I want to enjoy. And I'll be honest with you, it's actually been better for me mentally because I know what's going on. I shift to all the noises and all the needless nonsense of content that doesn't really matter in the end. So I'm actually able to enjoy the NBA more now because of it, instead of being so locked in to the point where like I don't know what else going on around the world. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
Anyway, last night, game one. I was hoping they started the series on Tuesday so we could have an actual preview. But we're already one game in for the West Conference Finals, which a lot of people, including you and I, believe is the NBA Finals. Honestly, Thunder and Spurs. Spurs up 1-0, and this is about De'Aaron Fox, honestly. But I mean, no one's shocked by the result. I think they're more of the performance by Mr. One Victor Wembanyama. 41 points, 24 boards. I think did he have 5 blocks also in that game? No, he had 3 blocks. 3 blocks that game. I mean, and pretty efficient for for a guy of his caliber. Um, I guess, and we'll talk about the series in a little bit, but I guess I want to focus on Wemby because I you can't just not talk about him and about where this thing is going. And this is year 3. We've been talking about this for a couple of years now about where his ceiling is and where we expect to go and whatnot. I guess I'll ask you this because I know my answer to this. I'll ask you, Greg. Mm-hmm. As we sit here doing this podcast on May 19, 2026, is Victor Wembanyama officially the undisputed best player in the NBA now?
Yeah, I mean, I think he should start winning MVPs kind of like LeBron did or Michael Jordan did, like when those guys were in their prime. I mean, if you look at the guys he's competing against, like you look at Jokic. Jokic is a dominant offensive player, but Wemby's dominant on both ends of the floor. Like you could make the argument he's going to wind up being one of the best defensive players ever, and he's giving you 41 points in big games. So, I mean, he's kind of unlike any player we've really ever seen. And my caveat is always he's just got to stay healthy. But if he stays healthy, and I were drafting a team today, and just for next year and age didn't matter, I would start with him, and I think everybody else would too.
Yeah, I think at this point, like you're looking at like winning these titles, and yeah, it does. But there was a time where Michael Jordan, we knew by 1988, 89, he was the best player in basketball without the titles. We just kind of knew, okay, yeah, he'll get there at some point. But right now, he's the best player in basketball. We were there. Well, LeBron, same thing too. We were knowing again LeBron's best player in basketball before the titles. I don't think it's any different with Wemby at this point now, and he will get MVP. There's an argument he probably should have won it this year. There's an argument for it. I still agree with, and we'll talk about the MVP in a second with SGA because that's a topic we have on the docket. There's an argument that he should have won it this year. I agree with the result, obviously, but you look at this guy's ceiling, and I know we keep harping on this over and over again every couple episodes, though, but I don't think people get it just yet. I think people are going to start getting it at some point when this thing grows and they'll be late to the game. This guy's ceiling is the greatest of all time. But like, there's a world where because right now I'm 46 years old. There's a world that, if, of course, health aside, of course, we will discuss his health, that I could be closing on 60 years old, and I'm saying this guy's better than Michael Jordan and LeBron James. There's a world, and I see that clearly now, even more so now.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that the box score doesn't even do him justice because there were 2 specific shots last night, one by A.J. Mitchell, one by Shea, where they were like 3 feet from the basket and they short-armed shots because just his presence near them, even though he wasn't blocking the shot, it's like they were almost afraid to even attempt the shot and they didn't put up like what their normal effort would be. So, I mean, he's just in people's heads anywhere near the paint, anywhere on defense. Guys are, prowling into the paint, and then they have to revert back and go back to the 3-point line because of the impact that he has. And then when you get on offense, like Dylan Harper, basically, he's just looking to get the ball to, anywhere around the rim and knows that Wemby's going to dunk the ball. So it's pretty unique what he does, the skill level that he has for the size that he is. I mean, we've seen guys of that size before, but they don't move around the floor like a small forward. They're plotting and, they're oafish and lanky. Like, that's not him. He's quite athletic and quite skilled. So it's, like I said, it's really something that we haven't ever seen before. And, like, he will win titles. That's why when you talk about who's going to get traded where, all these guys, like, you look at Giannis, the discussion is, well, he doesn't want to go to the Western Conference. Because, okay, let's say he goes to Golden State. Yeah. You have to deal with OKC and you have to deal with this. So, I mean, who wants to do any of that? Most of these guys' best bet would be, and this could go for guys in the Western Conference too, get to the Eastern Conference and then just hope that either they get knocked out by the time you get to the finals or he gets hurt by the time you get to the finals. I mean, that's really all you're hoping for at that point, because the Western Conference for the next 10 years is basically a 2-team race. And both teams are loaded with assets to continue building.
That's the thing.
What they already have.
Part.
Yeah. Yeah. Like
that part.
Like Denver's good. They're not on this level, but they're very good because they have Jokic, but they have no flexibility to move. Both these teams have picks galore, young players, guys that they might not even be able to afford to keep, that they could, package a couple things together and go out and get one player. So, I mean, it's pretty scary the way that the Western Conference is shaping up for a pretty long time.
I'm watching the game last night, right? And Both these teams, not just Wemby, but both these teams, how great they are. And I'm hearing doors shut.
Yeah.
And those doors are Luka, God bless you, you ain't winning a title anytime soon. Anthony Edwards, you ain't winning a title anytime soon. Okay? Nikola Jokic, your window might have just closed. Because forget Wemby, you're not being OKC either. Okay? They're still phenomenal and they get better. Both these teams are young. That's the thing people forget. They're young, okay, with the assets. And they have their core guys for the next 10 years. So I heard multiple doors shut last night. Like, yeah, good luck getting into that conversation because I don't see it. I just don't see it. And with Wemby, he's just so unique, bro. And I think for me, more than anything else that stands out for me is that, and I think I tweeted this to I sent it to my family. We have a group text. We have all the guys in the family, and we're talking about the game during end of the game. And I basically told them, listen, the thing that for me that stands out to me is that he's such a throwback. He's a throwback. He's not one of these punk ass kids today who cares about their brand. Like he's all about business, okay? And I keep telling a lot of these kids, I always say this, like I'm not saying your brand's not important, but the winning makes the brand anyway. If you focus on the winning and winning titles, the brand will be there anyway. It's like Tim Duncan. Like he focused on the winning. He won 5 titles. Should have gotten 6, honestly. Okay, and this is why we look at him as a top 10 player all the time. Okay, a lot of these players today. I'm not saying all of them are. I'm saying a lot of these players today, young. It's the culture. I get it. You want to fit in, and it's the me now culture. Wemby to me is a complete opposite of that. He's a complete outlier in so many ways, not just as a player, but even off the court. And it's so refreshing to see. I'm watching him last night. Ending that game, his post game conference, post game interview, and like he's not like he's locked in, and he's also very serious. That's the word. He takes this shit seriously, and I love it. I absolutely love it. It's such a refreshing to see now in 2026.
Yeah, but I mean the thing is, it's not just him. He could be on. Throw him on Sacramento. It's not just him. I mean, the fact that they've got Dylan Harper, the fact they've got Stephon Castle. I mean, like this is 10 years of like dominance, with youth. I mean, even Carter Bryant has had his moments, not just last night, but throughout the previous series, and he really didn't play that much this year. I mean, there's a world where, first and second year guys and Wemby are going to be the next 10 years of this team. So, I mean, they're all going to grow together. And it was remarkable that Fox didn't even play. And Castle and Harper are so good that they can still go out and win a game like that. And obviously, Wemby is the driving force. He's the most valuable player of the game. But they've still surrounded him with the right pieces to where they're going to be relevant for that. And we talked about it last summer. Like, would it make sense for them to go for Giannis, to go for it all? And it's like, well, why shorten your window to 2 or 3 years?
Exactly. Why?
When you can have these guys for 10 years. And like, I mean, I look at Harper and I think he's going to be like a first team All NBA guard.
Yeah, he's ascended this playoffs. He ascended.
He is so good. I mean, like just the way that he gets to the rim, his size, his strength. He's like a bigger version of Jalen Brunson. Now, granted, he doesn't shoot as well as Jalen Brunson, at least not yet. But I mean, just the body control, the footwork, the way that he muscles guys in the paint. I mean, it's pretty impressive to watch. And I mean, this is anyone's series. I mean, like, we're obviously coming on after game 1, so we didn't do our predictions prior to it. But I mean,
right.
This is probably a toss-up.
We teased this on the show, I think either last week or the week before, about the future of the Spurs, like what they have to do. And because right now they're in a unique situation right now where right now all their core guys are young on the rookie deal still right now. And we said this, and you agreed, you and I agreed, that they have to eventually trade De'Aaron Fox at some point to alleviate some cap room, And that's not a knock on Fox, but the reality is the core of this team is going to be Wemby, Harper, and Castle.
Yeah,
that's the core. That's the core 3 right there, number 1. Okay, now Fox obviously being there, it does buy them time until it's time to pay those kids. You know what I'm saying? And I'm thinking, like, you know what, guys, get ready for another Spurs dynasty. It's on tap. it's just on tap at this point now. The only way they don't win multiple titles in a certain fashion is that the Thunder somehow are able to, tip a tap with them. You know what I mean? They get one, you get one. They get one. You know what I'm saying? Because they're the only team right now that can challenge at this point now. And by the way, you and I are on the same page. Why would you trade for Giannis to be at a place you're already at anyway?
Yeah.
It makes no sense. It makes no sense at all. Why would you shorten your window? You and I said this on the show. It made no sense. You're already here. You're not trying to get there. You're already here right now as is. So why would you even trade and then restrict your roster with a guy that's going to be, was it 32 and now currently? Because you have 3 year window and they got to retool that again. No, you have the pieces now in the place you already are at currently. No point in doing that, honestly. But yeah, I'm with you, man. Wemby he's there. I actually said he was there probably at the end of the season. Like, I know Jokic was still really great, and it's not a knock on Jokic, obviously he's a phenomenal player, but Wemby's just different, and we're seeing it, and now we're seeing it in the playoffs where it matters. That's the thing I think you were saying too before the year started. Like, we just got to see it in those moments.
Yeah. We've
been seeing those moments. And the last series too. Remember how he got ejected in that game 3? Was it game 3? Or game 4 was? What did he do?
I believe it was game 4, but the discussion was, would he be suspended for game 5, which would have been like a pivotal game.
Right.
And they didn't suspend him for game 5.
What does Wemby do the next 2 games? Dominates. Okay. Bet. Dominates and kills Minnesota, essentially. So that's the shit you saw with Jordan in those years. That's the stuff Kobe did. Those are the things that the icons of the icons. They saw the window. They saw the challenge. They took it and grabbed it and then ran with it. Wemby's doing that now.
Yeah, I mean
that's why he's special.
The issue for these other teams is that, like, you look at Minnesota, like Gobert can't be on the floor with Wemby. Like, he plays him off the floor. So it's like if you're 7'2", perennial defensive player of the year candidate center can't guard him and is played off the floor by Wemby. Like, where do you go from there? I mean, basically their philosophy was, we're going to go with Naz Reid. It's a better matchup. Like, Chet couldn't guard him last night. So it's like all these defensive stopper centers can't play on the floor with him. They can't stop him. So I mean, you saw a lot where they had like Caruso on him just to try and like get into his body and then try and bring help from elsewhere. Like, they try so many different things just to slow him down, and it's a tough.
He's impossible. He's impossible. Like, you had a point now where just let him get his and shut out everybody else. That was the way you defended Jordan back in the day. Look, Jordan get his 30+. Just shut everybody else down. At least render Jordan inefficient. But even Wemby's still efficient with it. So,
but even with all that said, I mean, if I were Oklahoma City, I would sign up 7 days out of the week for him taking that 30-foot 3-point shot.
Of course.
So I mean, like,
of course,
they still in their minds should have had that game won despite his heroics. So I mean, that's the weakest part of his game is his 3-point shooting. So I mean, I would have signed up for that. He just happened to hit it. So,
well, you know what you do? You just chalk that up to this greatness.
Yeah,
exactly. Greatness. That's it. So,
yeah, you just hit the cap.
Yeah. And it sucks for OKC because SGA got awarded his second MVP award last night, back-to-back years now. And by the way, for record, I agree with it because we discussed in the show. They were the best team in the NBA. I think they won only 4 less games than last year without their second-best player playing for maybe a third of the year this year? Maybe a third of the year?
Yeah, I mean, I have zero qualms about him winning that award. I mean, for a number of reasons. One, San Antonio was basically slow playing Wembanyama, playing him 29, 30 minutes a game to get him through the year. And then plus you look at the injuries that OKC dealt with, namely Jalen Williams, as you mentioned, their record, his success, the year he had last year. I mean, like it just, I'm totally fine with him winning the award. But going forward, after what we're seeing now, if Wemby continues this level of play throughout, the regular season next year and beyond, I mean, he could win it every year from, next year on.
Yeah, get any way you can. Like, I'm okay. Like, if you're a Thunder, imagine this. So remember last year we were talking about this, how the Thunder, they had this, window where they can win multiple titles. And look, that could still happen, obviously. Because we thought the Wemby thing, while he was great, we thought maybe the Spurs maybe 2-3 years away from really, really being serious contenders, like title contenders. And then they are now way ahead of schedule, number one, to the point now where they're in the way. now they're in the way of the Thunder. I mean, how does that make you feel if you're a Thunder fan? Like wow, we thought we had this railing for at least a couple of years, and now that might be shortened. Not necessarily shortened. Well, I say shortened, but now that's going to be probably interrupted now potentially because of this situation with Wemby and the Spurs now, who not only he's caught on, but the rest of the team has followed him and they're there too also. They're essentially the same team, but the difference is that Wemby is the big equalizer because they're both very young. Both teams are very young. Both have similar situations with assets and stuff. But the big difference is that guy 7'4" is a massive nightmare to deal with.
Yeah, I mean the issue is that the windows are so fleeting in the NBA. I mean when the Celtics won in 24, we looked at it and we're like, oh, Tatum Brown in their prime, this team's loaded. They're gonna be up for it every single year. A guy pops his Achilles, and before you know it, they're trading guys to get under the aprons, and
yeah. Hey, Greg,
yeah.
we said that when Denver won 3 years ago. We said, oh, Murray and Jokic could clip up in 1 or 2 more titles. And they've lost to Minnesota twice since then.
Yeah, and I mean, look, even with San Antonio, like if Wemby blew out his knee and then they have to take a gap year. I mean, Indiana was in the finals last year. This year they had the worst record in the league. Now, obviously, no Halliburton and whatnot. But I mean, the point is, like, there's always this assumption that guys are going to get back. And you do it in the NFL all the time, too, like with quarterbacks. Like, oh, he'll get back. He'll get back. Joe Burrow will get back. He's really good. He's really, we don't know that, Dan Marino.
We don't know that.
So I mean, there's no guarantees with anything, especially with injuries and all that sort of stuff. So you have to capitalize on your window when it's there. I know we'll get to that later with Detroit, but you have to take advantage of what you have when you have it. So
let's forecast real quick. Okay, and I know it's weird to say this after 12 hours after what we saw last night. Okay, SGA back-to-back titles. Already has an NBA title as this also. Let's say the Thunder win a series against the Spurs and they will go on to win a title this year. That's back-to-back MVPs. That's back-to-back NBA championships. Beating Wemby also in the process. SGA is a very quiet guy. He's very quiet. He's not, on the brands and all this stuff in the same way that Anthony Edwards is and all these other guys. However, where do we look at SGA in the all-time conversation? Let's pretend June. We're in June now, Greg. Thunder went back-to-back. SGA wins MVP, Finals MVP again, all that. Where do we look at SGA in the all-time parameters, like top 20, top 15? What does it look like to you?
I mean, there's still so much of his career left to play, but I mean,
right.
If his career would end today, you're probably looking at 18 to 20 or something like that. Yep. But I mean, if he keeps playing for 10 more years and racking up numbers and accolades, I mean, he's probably creeping down to that 12, 13 range. And I mean, I don't know how high he can go. I mean, he could wind up winning 4 or 5 titles, and then we're looking at him like we do Jordan. I have no idea. So, I mean, it's there's just so much that has to play out. But he's certainly put himself in the conversation to go as high as conceivably possible. I mean, I don't think that I'll ever get to a place where I'd put him above Jordan or LeBron or Magic. But I mean, that's
unless he wins more titles. Like much more titles.
Yeah, that's the point of seeing the next 10 years. I mean, if Wemby winds up winning 6 titles, then you might put him at number 1 all time, So it's you just got to see how it plays out.
I asked that because here's the thing. There's certain guys that don't necessarily. People say, "Well, you have to win X amount of titles to be in this conversation," and I think with certain guys that applies to, like, but sometimes you're special. Like LeBron has only, well, I'll say only. I mean, he has 4 titles, but people already put him in that conversation with Jordan. Some people put him ahead of Jordan because of the impact. LeBron has the inherent advantage of having that brand. The brand and all this stuff and the commercials and this and that. Whereas SGA is just a ball player. He just heads down and plays ball. And I feel like when people who look at that as a negative, when we should be rating this the game itself. Like we view Kobe, and I'm not saying Kobe's not. I'm just saying that we view Kobe, top. Some people say top 5 all time, but a lot of that was pushed by a brand. When in fact Tim Duncan won just as many titles as Kobe did. Okay, but also is less popular in comparison, and people will put Kobe ahead of Duncan because of the branding. And I don't think it's fair necessarily. Whereas SGA, I just think that we need to kind of come to a place where we can let's rate the players for what it is, Okay, what they do on the court, forget the brands and whatnot. And I mean, I get the impact thing matters too, also, but I don't know. Like, it's yes, does it sound weird that SGA top 15 all time already? Well, the numbers suffice it. The he's won back-to-back titles, back-to-back MVPs, blah blah blah. We have to kind of respect that too, also. So we can't. Why would we like give LeBron credit for that, but then we won't give SGA credit for that? You know what I'm saying? Because of the branding, because he's more popular. That's bullshit in my opinion. So
yeah, I mean, I don't care about the branding, but I mean, if he's
because you're a smart guy, that's why.
Yeah, but he's also got to win the title this year. Again, I was just talking about windows closing. San Antonio could win the title this year, and now all of a sudden, Oklahoma City is now number 2 in the West, and they're chasing San Antonio.
Right.
So we just have to see how that plays out.
But my point is that, and I agree with him. That's what I'm saying. My point is that there will be a lot of people. There'll be swaths of people who will, after, as I said, forecasting the SGA wins the title this year, still say he's not in the conversation because they don't know who the fuck he is, and that's a problem.
Well, that's kind of more of an NBA problem than it is an SGA problem. I guess
but,
he doesn't.
Right,
he doesn't have to do anything. Like, it doesn't behoove him to be loud and obnoxious like Anthony Edwards or anything like that, to get a lot of technicals. Like, SGA can go home to his wife and his kid and, just be quiet. And to me, that's perfectly fine. It's just whatever he does on the court. Right. So, I mean, I watch a lot of basketball, so I don't need, like my girlfriend has no idea who SGA is, but she knows who Anthony Edwards is. So,
there you go. And SGA is way more accomplished than Anthony Edwards.
Yeah.
So it's a branding thing, and I hate that. I really do hate that. We have to.
Also, Anthony Edwards was in a documentary that we were watching with Jimmy Butler and Domantas Sabonis. It was a Netflix documentary maybe like a year ago. So, I mean, again, Anthony Edwards has put himself out there more for public consumption, I would say, than SGA has. But I watch the games, so that's not going to sway me.
But I wonder, though, too, also, and this is where I think where the Wemby effect is a big deal now. I wonder now, because Wemby is kind of like SGA, too, also. Like, we know who he is. We know who Wemby is mainly because of the fact that he's 7'4", okay, and does what he does. But Wemby isn't a brand like LeBron either. You get what I'm saying? He's more Tim Duncan. Like, Wemby is also more like SGA and Tim Duncan than he is Jordan and LeBron.
Yeah.
So is Wemby going to be the guy that kind of makes it acceptable, like a guy SGA, who's not, again, a brand, say, hey, you know what? Brands aside, it is what it is. These guys is great. We got to give them respect no matter what. Maybe with an era. Because look at it. Jokic, same thing. Best friend basketball last couple of years. Doesn't have a brand. His brand really is the fact that he just plays ball and leaves and goes to his ranch in freaking, Croatia, whatever it is. You know what I mean? So maybe we're in an era that these top guys are just, we're playing ball, bro. Fucking Nike commercials and all that stuff. Like, we'll do one, whatever, if offered, we'll see. But it's not it's not the main thing. The main thing is winning basketball.
Yeah, but the talking heads shows can do the work for these guys. I mean, you can go on ESPN and have a discussion about Jokic, SGA, and Wemby for the next 5 years, 10 years. I mean, like, they can do the heavy lifting for them. These guys can be quiet and just play basketball, and you could still make a lot of noise around them. So
maybe we're getting to era now finally, because I know they try to push Anthony Edwards in the next big thing, and I'm not saying it's not great, but you got to win. You got to win, and maybe we're in an era now that, well, we're in the this is these underrated guys who happen to win a lot or the future of the league, not the flashy guys. And that's my thing, because NBA's always been built on flash, and maybe we're starting to pivot from that now, which I wouldn't mind.
What's going to be curious to me is, do you see players like Anthony Edwards, maybe not this year, but in the future, demanding trades because they want to get away from Wemby and SGA? And, do they want to go to Toronto, let's say, or Miami or wherever, because there's greater opportunity there than what's perceived? Like where's Minnesota going? Like, they're a great team, but they're not on the level of the two teams that we watched last night. And they don't have the flexibility to get to that point.
Yeah.
So I mean, does Anthony Edwards or do his people look at that and say, "Oh God, we got to get him out of here," because he's just going to be stuck for the next? I mean, he's older than the guys on these teams that he's competing against.
That's correct.
So it's like, how is he getting his title, how is he getting to the finals? He's got to go through both those teams. And then you still have to deal with Luka and the Lakers. And I'm just talking about like roadblocks, not necessarily like them being the favorites, but I mean they're just teams that you have to contend with. So when we talked about the depth of the East, like yeah, the East has been better, but like the high end talent is still in the West in terms of championship.
How's it feel to be Luka Doncic 22 also? I mean, right now, think about it. If you're talking about Edwards being like a roadblock, Jokic, at least Jokic got his title. He got a title.
Yeah.
How many people be Luka? Luka was the guy that we looked at as, oh, this could be the best player in basketball. Nope. Not happening.
Yeah, I mean, the only good thing for the Lakers, and we mentioned it last week, was that they have a lot of flexibility that they can add to their team. But how creative do they want to get? You know, because from everything that I heard, Luka really likes playing with Austin Reeves. Well, Austin Reeves is like the biggest chip that they have to go out and acquire another like great player. So I mean, like, I don't know that it makes sense for Luka. Like, it's very backcourt heavy. So it's like, how are you adding to that to go up against Wemby? How are you getting to a place where you're better than OKC? Like, I don't see that. You know, I saw things floated like, oh, with all their cap room, they should make an offer for Jalen Duren because he's a rim runner and Luka needs a rim runner. And it's like, yeah, but he's not stopping Wemby. So yeah. So it's like, you know, so what does that accomplish? So I mean, again, they're even though they have flexibility, they're kind of stuck in terms of how are they competing against OKC and against San Antonio. And I don't know the answer to that question.
Right. All right, let's preview the conference finals real quick. So obviously we're already one game into the West Finals. We'll start there first. This one I had a hard time picking before the series started. I kind of said Thunder in 7, but no confidence. I think I texted you that also. Thunder in 7, but no confidence. Do I still go there? I guess I'll do it. That's because they are the experienced team. But if I'm taking a one game sample, right, what I've seen so far, Spurs don't mean shit. Because the Spurs are here. These boys are mature and they don't look like they are stunned by anything. So, but man, I will say this: if it's something encouraging about the Thunder last night is that Jalen Williams looked good last night.
Yeah,
looked good last night. Looked good last night. So that's encouraging. And they're gonna need that. They're gonna need that. So I will still say OKC in 7, but don't bet it. This is 50-50 is gonna get though. OKC in 7. What you got?
I mean, I texted you last night before the game started that I had OKC in 6, and I'm going to stay with that. I mean, I think that a lot of things had to go right for the Spurs, and a lot of things had to go terribly for the Thunder, and it was still a close game. Now you can make the argument Caruso might not score 31 points in the next 5 or 6 games combined. So I mean, that was found money that they threw away, but that was probably also the worst game that SGA played all year, or maybe in the last 2 years.
Very inefficient last night. He had 12 assists, though. 7 of 23, 24 points. Very inefficient.
I mean, 7 of 23, that's terrible. Chet was terrible. They got nothing out of AJ Mitchell.
Yeah, Chet was fucking horrible. 8 and 8. I think Wemby was in his head last night. I think Wemby was in his head.
Yeah, I mean, the concern for me is that AJ Mitchell has been Jalen Brunson essentially for 2 series, and because Jalen Williams came back, they sort of went away from him. I mean, I think he attempted 4 shots. I mean, he played 34 minutes. And
Mitchell put up 5 shots, 4 points, 4 boards, 5 assists.
Yeah, so I mean, he was just an afterthought, and it's like you're taking one of what's been your better players, and I feel like they just lost. Like as a coach, Dagnall lost him in their game script.
They got no help last night. So like other than Caruso, you know, your guys, Mitchell only had 4 points last night. You had Dort had 5.
Yeah, well, I don't expect anything out of Dort. I just expect Dort to defend and not take and miss a lot of threes. So, I mean, like, I'm not even looking at him. I'm looking at Chet. I'm looking at Chet being an all-star, giving me 2 for 7, you know, or, you know, whatever it was.
But Chet gives you 12 and Dort gives you 8 to 10. That's a win for the OKC Thunder last night. That's it. That's all you need.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm not expecting Wemby to go for 41 and 24 every night.
Right.
I just feel like SGA is not going to play that poorly again.
No.
Chet's not going to play that poorly again. They're going to get more out of some of their other guys. I think, you know, they're going to learn something from yesterday. And even still, they conceivably should have won the game without Wemby hitting that 3.
Yeah.
So I mean, I just look at SGA going 7 of 23, Chet being bad, getting nothing out of Mitchell, um, and also like they've been there before. They don't have that elephant on their back. Like we have to win a title. I think what they went through last year has positioned themselves for this, and we still have to see if Harper and Castle, when the moment comes, they've never been there before. So
Yeah.
how is that going to go when all the OKC guys have been there? So I mean, I'm going with experience and I'm going with a little bit of pedigree, even though I know that this is a coin flip and San Antonio could certainly win. But I mean, look, they're both great teams, and it wouldn't shock me either way.
Let me ask you this. So Hartenstein last night, 2 points, 2 boards, 2 assists in 12 minutes. Did he get hurt? Or it just pulled him?
No. He again, it's like, why did Gobert
the matchup, right?
Yeah, they shouldn't even start him. And to be honest, maybe not even play him. Like if he's not a good matchup for Wemby and for the Spurs, don't even start the game with him and play him 5 minutes and fall behind. Just play Caruso, because that's what they did. They swapped him out real early and went to Caruso. And so Caruso had like 16 points in the first quarter. And then you're looking at it, it's like, oh, he didn't even start. And it's like, well, then how did he get all these points? Because he came into the game right away because they pretty much knew that Hartenstein, like, this wasn't his matchup.
Shout out to Doc. Yeah. Go ahead.
In Minnesota's case, Gobert is like one of their main players. Hartenstein is not one of OKC's main players. They don't have to feel obligated to keep him on the floor. Like Chet, they have to keep on the floor. Like he needs to figure it out. Hartenstein doesn't need to figure it out. They can go small. They can play Mitchell. They can play Caruso. They can go in that direction, and hope that works out. Like they're so deep that they have options. They don't have to be beholden to one specific lineup. I just don't think this is going to be a Hartenstein series. Personally.
Shout out to Dagnall for adjusting on the fly like that. Like most coaches are very stubborn. Like, let's try it out longer. No, he adjusted immediately. And,
but also they're deep enough that he can do that. Most teams don't have that depth.
That option, right?
Yeah,
true.
I mean, like Minnesota is like 7 guys deep. OKC is like 11 or 12. Like they can bring Wiggins off the bench. He didn't even play in some games last series.
Right. That's right. Okay. All right, and then we have the next series in the East that starts tonight. It's Cavaliers and Knicks. We'll get to the losing teams in a second. Look, the Knicks have, I don't know what Wheaties they ate after Game 3 against Atlanta, but they've been on a tear. And the thing is, they're winning games. They're all blowouts. That's the thing. I think it's killing me. Is that they're all winning games by, and not even typical blowouts. They're winning by 50, 40, 30, and it's becoming normal now. And the sample size is fairly healthy. You're looking at 7 games of this. But is this the Knicks figuring out, or the competition just quitting? I don't know. Having said that, I think these teams on paper are even talent-wise. I just think I trust. Well, look, I trust one team more than the other. The Cavs are on level with the Knicks as a talent. I just don't trust them, dude. I just don't trust them. I just don't. I'm stunned. Not only did they beat Detroit on Sunday, that they boat raced them on Sunday. That was shocking. Like, you and I were texting during the game at halftime. I mean, like, Detroit probably come back, though. And then it never happened. In fact, it got worse. I'm like, Greg, really? You sure to come back here? Because I was stunned.
Well, my theory was it's going to be a single-digit game at some point. I didn't think that it was going to stay a blowout. My thought was it wasn't that Cleveland couldn't win the game even when they were up 20. It's just that at some point they're going to let Detroit back in this game. They just never did.
But my point was, I agree with you because I don't trust them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that's why I was stunned. Having said that, then I'm going to go Knicks in 5. I think they figured out something here. And then when you add the fact I don't trust Cleveland on top of that, I go Knicks in 5 in this one. I don't want it to be so. I want to go much longer, and I'm rooting for the Cavs to win the series anyway, but that's my opinion. What you got on this one? I'm really curious to hear your thoughts on this.
I have Knicks in 6. I really wanted to say in 4 or 5 because they've been so dominant. Mm-hmm. But I think that the matchups are not as sweet as they were when they were playing Philadelphia. Like Embiid basically couldn't play defense. Like, you're not going to have that issue with Mobley or Allen. Like, those guys are going to be much more fluid on defense, and they have guys that can give Brunson some trouble, and that, in theory, I mean, again, I'm just looking for ways that this series can be competitive. Like, the Knicks are the better team. I would be surprised if they didn't win the series. In fact, when I was watching the first half of the game last night, I'm like, I don't see why the Knicks couldn't give either OKC or the Spurs a run. Like, when both teams were shooting around 40%, I'm like, why couldn't the Knicks beat one of these teams in a series? Like, so I mean, the Knicks have played that well for a pretty long period of time, and I think a lot of it is just finding something. I think the way that Towns has played has really opened up the floor.
Facilitator, playing more of a facilitator role.
Playing more of a facilitator, and also that now Bridges is back in the mix, and Brunson's obviously still getting his touches, and OG, when he was healthy, was found a new level of game to get to. And I think a lot of that's because Cat was deferring. So these guys that during the season, maybe it was just Brunson and Cat getting the boatload of the opportunities. Now everybody's eating. And so I think that, and also Cat's played much better on defense. So I mean, that, kudos to him for that. But I just think that the matchup is a little tougher for the Knicks than either of the two matchups that they had previously, especially the Philadelphia matchup. I like 2 minutes into that game, I'm like, oh, they're not going to be able to guard any of these guys on the Knicks because they have to play Embiid in a drop. And Brunson just wants to take those elbow jumpers. And if you're going to have Embiid just retreating into the paint, you're just giving up layups essentially every single time. And if you try and meet him at the level, you're just going to go right around him because he's too slow. So but they needed Embiid's offense. So like Philly didn't have the depth and the roster for that. I'm not saying that the Cavs have some great depth, but I think that their big guys will be able to handle the Knicks perimeter players a little better than what Philly was able to. And I'm figuring that, okay, Mitchell will have a game, Harden will have a game where they get hot and they make a lot of their shots and all that. But I mean, just top to bottom, the Knicks are, I would say, the better, tougher team. And, you put it best, they're the team that I would trust a lot more because the Cavs have not been able to be trusted with this core essentially for like 4 years. So
yeah, right. And the thing is, like I said, people shouldn't be surprised that the Cavs are here because this same core that just added James Harden in the middle of the year won 64 games last year and was supposed to be in the spot. So, and I said this too also, like, they on paper they're in Detroit. We just didn't trust Cleveland. That's all.
Yeah.
But we'll get to the grades in a second because I got some words for the Pistons. Like, that was disappointed. But Cleveland is where they should be. They should have been here last year, crying out loud. So the talent, they are one of the most talented teams, but one of the most talented rosters in the NBA. It's just that when April comes around, it's like, okay, now they fall short. So, but the Knicks, I think they found something. I think both these teams mirror each other in terms of like trustworthy. I think I trust the Knicks a little more now than the Cavs, but it's neck and neck. But I'll go Knicks in 5 because I think they might have found something here that works. And the Cavs are just so Jekyll and Hyde in the playoffs, man. I can't trust that. So give me Knicks in 5. All right. Having said that, let's get to that final topic of the game of the show. Final letter grades. The final two teams that got knocked out in the second round of the playoffs. This was the first team here, the T-Wolves, who lost last week to the Spurs in 6. Which grade are you giving them?
I mean, I'm going to give both teams the same grade. Okay. But I'm going to say a B-. They have Edwards, so that's great. Obviously, they've been to the Western Conference Finals 2 years in a row, and played a pretty competitive series this year against the Spurs. So I mean, they've been in the mix every year. What I guess concerns me is that, like, what do you do with Randall? What do you do with Gobert? Like, I mean, you've got guys around Anthony Edwards that I don't think really can help him win. Mm-hmm. You have Dosunmu, who's a free agent. They have virtually no tradable assets. I mean, their second best player is McDaniels. And if you're looking at how...
Yeah, sorry guys, I had to step away for a couple minutes to pick up my kids from school. All right, so Wolves, I give him a C+ actually, because I thought the seeding could have been better, in my opinion. Obviously, there's some injuries there. I know Ant had a couple injuries this year too as well. You missed the awards stuff and whatnot, but they did well in the playoffs, dude. It's a standard year. It's a satisfactory year. It's not a bad year. Obviously, you lose to San Antonio, who's certainly surpassed them now in the conference and whatnot. So, it is what it is there. But I thought it was a good year. Obviously, we're great on the curve here with them because they're not in the conversation with OKC or San Antonio's point now. We learned that in the playoffs. So, that's what it is. But I think their future is where I'm a little bit concerned with them. And what moves to make next to compete with the top teams. I think they're better. I think they're better than LA. I think obviously they're better than Denver because they beat Denver even without freaking for 2 games in that series. So the issues that what can they do to get in that conversation with San Antonio and OKC? That's the question going forward. So C+ for me. All right, last team here, the Pistons, who lost in 7 to the Cavaliers. What you got?
I also gave them a B-. They have Cade, who's one of the better players in the league, so they get full marks for that. You could also make the argument maybe that they were ahead of schedule with how they played their year. Where I didn't like what they did was the only acquisition they made all year was Kevin Huerter at the trade deadline, and I thought that this was a wide open runway for them to possibly be in the mix to go to the finals. So I thought that they were a little too overprotective of their picks and not trying to upgrade, and I don't know what the upgrade was. Maybe it was Michael Porter Jr., maybe it was, Ayo Dosunmu, who knows? But I mean, whatever was out there had to have been better than just picking up Kevin Huerter, who wasn't even really playing for them. So I thought they just rested on their laurels a bit. And, second round exit, 60 wins during the year. So, I mean, it was a good regular season. But again, when a third of the league is tanking, and the East is going to be a lot better next year, I don't know. I give them credit for Cade. I give them credit for maybe being a little ahead of schedule, but I thought that they missed kind of an opportunity to maybe capitalize more on the circumstances of the Eastern Conference in this specific year. And so that's why I didn't go for an A or A- or something like that.
Yeah, it's so tough, bro, because they certainly did. Even though they had a great year last year, we didn't see the 60 wins on tap for the Pistons this year, and they did that. Now we can debate about the bottom of the conference and all this stuff about how the fact that the teams that bottomed out, and that's why there was opportunity to win that many games. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, 60 wins, so 60 wins. In that conference over Boston, over New York, over Cleveland, over teams like that of that nature. We didn't see that coming. We said maybe 50 wins would be on the table, but not 60. Cade ascended to now a top 5-ish player in the league. I think Cade's top 5 player in the league probably right now at this point, the way he's been playing, even in the playoffs. But it was so disappointing to see how they play in the playoffs. Even the Orlando series, they probably should have not won that series. They were down 3-1 the series, down 3-2 with a 20-point deficit or something like that in the second half of the game.
They were down 22 at halftime, and also Franz Wagner didn't play the end of that series. So I mean, if he stays healthy, I mean, you could make the argument they're not even better than Orlando.
Right. So there's a lot of things we saw clues there, and then the series is Cleveland. They're up 2-0. Okay, maybe they got things together, and then they couldn't get traction in that series again. They won one on, one off. It's like so I want to grade fairly expectations versus what happened in the playoffs. I'll give them a B+ because again, 60 wins is still 60 wins. Mm-hmm. And Cleveland, like I said, I know they're 4 seed, but look, this is the same team last year. I'll say it again. They won 64 games last year with the same core, who just only added James Harden. So they're kind of supposed to be where they're at now. To be honest with you, so I can't call this a failure. I am concerned though moving forward in terms of their future, and we discussed the window and whatnot, and the opportunity to take advantage of this window, and they got to add players. Cade needs help. Cade ain't the problem. Cade showed up all these games. Cade ain't the problem. He needs help. Jalen Duren, who's probably 13 NBA. I mean, in my opinion, just did not show up in that series against Cleveland. Very disappointing. He's got to step up. Obviously, they need more shooters. I mean, you and I mentioned that too. Also, you were adamant about that during the trade deadline. They need shooters, and they didn't add that, and that bit them in the ass at the end of the day.
Yeah, when you have a player like Cade, you don't have a lot of time because if you don't make moves around him, he's going to go elsewhere. Or he's going to demand a trade, or he's going to do what Giannis is doing, forcing either you to do something or to move on from him. So it's a blessing and a curse a little bit when you have a guy that good, because you can't just slow play it around him. So where do they go from here? I've heard Trey Murphy mentioned, but I mean, again, that's going to take most of their picks. That's going to be another, Desmond Bain, Mikal Bridges type trade because of his age, because of the position he plays, because of, how much time he has left under contract, so on and so forth. So I don't see them doing that necessarily because I don't see them giving up 3 or 4 first-round picks, especially with the new lottery system that's in place. So
they have.
I don't know where they necessarily go from here. The biggest thing for them is going to be Jalen Duren's free agency. I mean, I believe he's a restricted free agent this summer.
They'll lock him up. They can't afford to lose him. They'll lock him up. They have no choice.
True, but I think they're going to try and lock him up at a lower number. Like they're not going to want to they're not going to want to give him 44. They're probably going to try and give him 35, and then we're going to see how that plays out. That might be a little drama for them in the offseason, because if I could save $10 million off of his contract based on how he looked in the playoffs, I would certainly try.
Sure, justify it. But I will say he was very good during the season too, also, which there's the argument that, well, I earned it and this and that. And I helped carry the team when Cade was out. So who knows? You go on both sides. But I do think, to your point, yeah, try to get the low end of that. Like I said, Detroit's is complicated. I thought they had a chance to really, in a window year where Indiana's hurt and Boston was hurt, there's opportunity to take advantage of that. And unfortunately, playoffs, I think, look, they'll still be a good team going forward. If their numbers are 54, 55 next year, I'm saying the under.
Yeah.
Put it that way. So, anyway, Greg.
Yeah,
absolutely. So, anyway, Greg, thank you for being patient with me. I had to go pick up my kid from school. Thank God the school's across the street, though. It's not that far. So, you follow him on X at, so was it GHRINYA number 2?
With the number
2. Right. No underscore?
Nope.
All right. Cool. Because, of course, I'm on... Huh?
It's the same thing with the number 2 added to it.
Right. Of course, I'm on X at each7. NBA show. We'll be back next week, and hopefully we'll see where we're at with these 2 series. Like I said, enjoy especially Spurs and Thunder. This should be a classic. I can't wait to continue to watch this thing. So we'll try to stay. Well, we'll both try to stay awake for this whole thing. Good job, Greg.
Thanks. See you next week.
You got it.
Go Heat, bitch.